Hi everyone. Before we start, we'd like to do a quick introduction. I'm from SBI Digital Markets. We are creating the digital transfer agent on chain with Chainlink. Our role is also a distributor, both primary and secondary.
Hi, I'm Andrew from UBS, the team behind the launch of our recent tokenized money market fund, UMint, and have been working with the team here to see how we can bring the fund lifecycle and the fund on chain.
Hi, I'm Colin from Trillion Network. We are a stablecoin issuer looking to be regulated here in Singapore. We have a Sing dollar and a US dollar stablecoin that's already launched, and working with partners like SBI and the team here to actually build more use cases to bring real-world digital asset to life.
Hi, I'm Sergey Nazarov, co-founder of Chainlink. Chainlink provides the most data into, out of, and between chains, and is a very widely used standard for cross-chain connectivity. We are helping kind of solve a lot of the technical problems around how to get the delivery versus payment flow working, how to get the digital transfer agency contract working, how to make it work with the tokenized fund from UBS. We're kind of interconnecting all of the different systems from NAV to cross-chain to the DVP flow to the transfer agency, all into one application. And so we're kind of acting as the technology platform that's helping do all that and solve these problems.
So just a recap, last year we did a technical POC with UBS in Project Guardian, where we have the tokenized fund and we distribute it, but it's a technical POC. And I want to emphasize how important that a live deal is to be able to commercialize and distribute really out to investors. There's normally 3 stages. After a technical POC, there should be a live pilot deal to test out all end-to-end. And the difference is that technical POC can take care of the tech part. However, the whole business stream, legal, regulatory, commercial, and clients, of course, all have to be in place before a commercial deal can take place. And after that is the real commercialization and scale it up. So we have managed to do that quickly in terms of not only bringing the technical POC into life, but together with Chainlink, we actually solved a lot of problems that was not tested last year. So we sort of jumbled that in together rather waiting for months down the road. So we are going to show even more benefits from that. So now we'll start this by Andrew to explain about why UBS want to tokenize a money market fund. And for those who haven't seen the release, I think last Friday, UBS has released about the launching of the tokenized fund platform. So maybe, Andrew, can you share more about UBS angle?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the motivation for the tokenized fund for us as a more general concept is we want to move the share register for our fund, the record keeping, as much as possible on chain. And to do that, it means, really, and then enabling other partners and service providers, et cetera, to kind of connect and compose on top of the fund products that we build. So it's important that we put kind of the core foundation of the fund out there beyond the firewall on, in this case, the Ethereum chain, to make sure that we have as much possibilities as possible to collaborate with people and see what we can build together to drive either more efficiency or new business use cases. So I think that's the broader rationale for why we've been looking at tokenized funds from more of an infra perspective. I think funds also in general are a good vehicle as a standard way of bringing real world assets on chain, at least in this stage of the market where different types of assets, it takes a lot of specific structuring and jurisdiction and product specific legal analysis to bring different type of product on chain. A fund gives you kind of like a standard wrapper to do that. And so we also found that this is a good vehicle at this stage of the market to give us some flexibility in bringing different types of investment content and assets, online. And so the money market was kind of the first product that we also looked to bring, because in any kind of emerging financial ecosystem, it's very important to have the basic components to meet different types of investor, needs, different type of financial planning needs, and something like a money market product serves kind of one of the most basic ones. And that's why we were very interested to see how we could, bring this component first, and hopefully through the course of, the development of this initiative, see what else we can explore that would be valuable to this new developing kind of on-chain ecosystem.
Thanks. Next, Sergey, you want to explain? I mean, Chainlink did all the heavy lifting on solving the tech problems that bring these benefits over to especially the digital TA function as well as the cross-chain interoperability problem, right? So, Sergey, you want to explain more about how important that is and what problems have we solved?
Yeah, so I think there's a few interesting things going on here. The first thing with the digital transfer agency contract is that we're feeding valuable information like NAV data, and we're synchronizing it back with the UBS systems. So basically, the digital transfer agency contract is the first thing that was enabled by Chainlink. And digital transfer agency is actually a big innovation because it puts a lot of the processes for fund administration on chain. That's the first thing that happened. Interesting, the digital transfer agency contract was on a separate chain from the tokenized fund. So the tokenized fund was on public Ethereum, and the digital transfer agency contract was on Arbitrum. And so then you need cross-chain to interconnect the digital transfer agency contract with the tokenized fund. In connecting those two contracts, you kind of generate this value and this application. But what's very interesting is that it's an application that works across two chains. Then you have another problem of how to arrive at DVP, how to do delivery versus payment, how to actually settle against subscriptions in tokenized fund, and their CCIP is also very useful, allowing connections to other chains and more users to access the tokenized fund. But at the end of the day, what Chainlink did is it allowed the process to work end-to-end. It allowed the data to flow into a digital transfer agency contract, so it allowed that contract to come to life. Then it connected that to the tokenized fund, and then it connected it to, buyers for DVP. So there was quite a bit of things that Chainlink was involved in doing here. And I think it shows the end-to-end capabilities of Chainlink.
Thank you. Yeah. Maybe before I talk about our role in distribution, I'd like to call in to explain about how this can help for stablecoin holders as well as the ecosystem as a whole. Because Colin's side, Chilean Network side and CoinHubCo has given a new dimension of a use case that is not seen in the traditional world. So maybe you can explain more about it.
Yeah, so I think if we look at it from an investment perspective, right, typically when we invest in a money market fund, there is going to be a high cost in terms of redemption and issuance. So with this, and also there's time delay. So what is the mission of Trillion Network? One of the core mission is to solve the global movement of liquidity, to erase some of the frictions with liquidity movement around the markets. And by actually tokenizing money market funds on-chain and having your fiat tokenized on-chain, there's an ability for us to swap between non-yield bearing payments related kind of stable coins into yield bearing stable coins quite easily at a fraction of the cost and time that it typically takes for you to deposit your fiat into a typical fund management account in order to purchase the funds. And if we take it one step forward, if we think about it from a credit and collateral perspective, the ability for us to swap into a asset that is recognized by, say, capital markets players as collateral for trading, it's another function of which stablecoins to tokenize money market funds enables, I think, a new dimension of financial applications. So think of it as having a tokenized money market fund collateralized onto a trading value that will be able to earn some sort of yield to offset some of the funding costs that you'll get from getting credit from a trading value in order to trade on that value. So this whole project illuminates, I think, some of the core benefits of having your assets actually tokenized on chain and the ease of actually swapping between, I would say, your stablecoin assets and real world digital assets. Yeah.
Thanks. I will touch on the distribution. That's our role for both primary and secondary. So SBI Digital Markets, we have over 25 million client base across countries globally, but especially in Asia. Our home base is in Japan, but we cut across quite a few countries in Asia. What we realized is that first, I think I mentioned this in earlier sessions before, that as someone who face clients and to sell a tokenized product, we need to show the value to the client to even talk about how good a tokenized product is, why we should be tokenizing assets on chain and the security and so. Even before to address that, right, the first question that client will always ask us is, what's the value to them. And no matter how interested they are, no one is going to spend $1 on a tokenized asset if they can spend 90 cents on a traditional asset. So I think that is the problem that the primary distribution partners have all been facing. So what we have done so now is that through UBS efforts and also our efforts in digitizing functions, we managed to have operational efficiencies that can be reflected in cost savings of clients. So I think for probably the first time in this region, we are going to quantify the savings when we distribute out into the client, meaning that a traditional same product versus a tokenized product, that is a number that we can show the client. And that will make it very easier for us to explain to client when they ask us, where are all the 7 trillion of savings that is reported everywhere? So that it is, right? And the best thing is that this is only the tip of the iceberg, right? As we put more things on chain, when operational flow become more and more efficient, this will only grow. So I think that is an important step. The other value that they can get is payments. So without atomic settlement, then a lot of payment challenges still is there. So if we can, and I think that if you see SFF this year, a lot of focus on payments, because I think the industry has set up infrastructures now and have done a lot of POCs and tests. And I think the next step is really solving the payment problem. Once you have solved that, I believe that will unlock a lot of adoption from a client perspective. And the third one, of course, is access. Right? If you have products they can't access, then naturally they'll be interested in it because they can't access it in the traditional form. So that is something that is important for us when we distribute tokenized asset or the primary distribution. On the secondary distribution, I think is a known fact that most of the tokenized security exchanges globally does not have enough liquidity. And how SBI is trying to solve that problem is that we are working with motivated partners. So across 10 jurisdictions now, we have identified motivated partners who are institutional and regulated exchanges and venues that we are working with to not only cross-connect and cross-list, but to cross-trade. If the exchange doesn't have enough liquidity, they can tap onto the global liquidity. So that is something interesting that we're doing, and we're trying to make it easy for the infrastructure, the governance layer to lower the barriers to entry for these exchanges. So please watch out for that from us as well. I think before we close off, I would like to ask the speakers here as well, what is next for each organization, and what do they think the next 1 to 2 years will look like for tokenized funds?
So I think you covered a lot of, maybe where the roadmap is. I think it's to take a lot of the work that we've done this year in Project Guardian and see how we can continue to push it into a commercial application. To your point on efficiency, I think the way that we think about it is, we have to create the environment such that, for the manager, we're not making every single design choice that might drive different costs. So again, the more that we can start with now a real, product and contract on chain, it would be, very interesting to see what partners can build on top of that, selecting kind of their design choices around it that optimize for things like efficiency, so that we can kind of together bring the story together, as opposed to having it be something that is entirely driven from, the issuer perspective. So very excited to see kind of how we can continue to grow this work.
Thanks. So Gabe, what's next?
Yeah, so I think the great work that we've done here going to production is very exciting. I think what we've created here is something that's reusable for many more transactions like this, many more digital TAs, many more tokenized funds, many more DVP flows, many more NAV calculation updates. So I think beyond going to production, I think going to production is great, but then how do we scale it to do even more of these transactions, get even more DVP flows going, get even more kind of subscriptions working, get even more cross-chain connections to more chains so that more users can use and access the tokenized fund. So I'm thinking about launching all of this stuff with you folks, but then we also have to allow it to scale.
So I think before this, I was speaking with Sergey, right? I think the next step for us is actually how do we open up liquidity? Most of the assets, if we are looking at on-chain right now, are kind of siloed based on the different chains that are locked on. Can we unlock the ability for, say, investors to be able to move their assets from one chain to the other that's a common problem that we see today with the payment space where, basically payment operators are working in siloed. Your certain wallets will not be able to work with certain wallets. So what we're doing here, I guess, with something that I think on Chainlink is doing is the CCIP project. The ability to move your assets across chain is something that we're looking at quite deeply. The ability for us to be able to natively mint on, say, Ethereum and move that asset onto another chain which is more gas efficient in order to provide liquidity to the markets more easily. So I think that's something that we're looking at quite actively. Yeah.
Thanks. And for me, I think, of course, we will still continue to push the adoption for both primary and connecting for secondary liquidity. That's what we will be focusing a lot on. But I think there will be 2 or 3 trends that will come over the next 1 year, in my opinion. One is the payment piece. I think that that problem will be solved. I don't think CBDC will be commercialized globally in the next 1 to 2 years. Though there are very good progress in the projects, I think stablecoins will probably be having a big say in how transactions are done. The second thing that will happen is I think there are a lot of standards being set, regulatory standards, with Europe, EU having taken a lead this year and coming next year. Switzerland has done that. In Asia, a few countries have done that. I think there will be more standardization of regulations and frameworks. And I think the tech infrastructure is being consolidated now. So I think that consolidation will come in, standardization will come in. And the third case is products like money market fund. There's another use case that people forget, which is that products like that works very well for Web3 and DeFi players, which I know some players here or some companies here are involved in. I think that there will be a bit of cross-bridging between traditional Web2 and Web3 world, where some products probably can be the good bridge to bring two across each other. And I think that is a very interesting balancing of the two ecosystem about how Web2 and Web3 can really work together over the next couple of years. Yeah, I think we are out of time. Thank you very much. If you would like to approach anyone of us after this, we'll be around for a while here. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.